Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this regular meeting of the Planning Commission for July 2024 to order and turn it over to staff.
Thank you, Chair LaFevers. Just prior to roll call, I would like to make clear for the record that this meeting is being conducted pursuant to California Government Code Section 54953 and that Planning Commissioner Allen will be participating in this meeting by teleconference. In accordance with the Brown Act, the teleconference location has been identified in the notice and the agenda for this meeting. And after roll call, I'll ask for a chance to do one more exercise with Commissioner Allen to make sure that we can hear each other okay.
All right, very good. Thank you for that. And with that, I'll ask for a roll call, please.
Commissioner Slant? Commissioner Moyer?
Here.
Commissioner Benefield?
Here.
Vice Chair Allen?
Here.
And Chair LaFevers?
Here.
Great, we're all present.
Very good, thank you. And I'll turn it back to you for some additional logistics.
Thank you. Please bear with me for a moment while I go through some special procedures required by the Brown Act. I would now like to request that Planning Commissioner Allen respond to the following questions. Commissioner Allen, can you hear me well?
Yes.
Were you able to hear our proceedings up until now?
Yes.
Do you have a copy of the agenda for this meeting?
Yes.
Is the agenda posted at the location where you are?
Yes.
Is your location reasonably accessible to the public, such that any member of the public could participate in this teleconference from your location if they wish to do so?
If anyone is in the vicinity, there are no impediments to coming to our residence, if that's a sufficient answer.
And is there any member of the public there with you who would like to participate in the public comment portion of this meeting or otherwise
No.
address any agenda item for this meeting?
No.
I would now like to ask that any member of the Planning Commission speak up at this time if they are unable to clearly hear Commissioner Allen. Hearing no comment, the record will reflect that all Planning Commissioners present have indicated that they are able to hear Commissioner Allen. And that concludes my remarks. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. And with that, we will move forward. I'll ask all of you to please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Let's move on to introductions, presentations, additional announcements.
Chair LaFevers, I have none for you this evening.
Very good. I'll open up the initial public comment, ask if there's anybody here to speak on an item that's not on the agenda. Come on up. Good evening.
Thank you, Commissioner, and the rest of the commissioners and staff. Patrick O'Connor, District 5, speaking as a citizen. Reflecting on the joint review a couple of weeks ago of the Lagunitas project, and sort of looking past the dysfunction, if you will, of the developer and the neighbors being so far apart in their interests of that project. But in reflecting on that meeting, it became clear sort of late in the process, and it was the second review, by the way, for the ARB members who had been present, that there were conversations with the developer prior to these reviews, around the nature of the project and the nature of the concerns. And I'd like to make the urgence that planning and ARB be part of those advanced discussions. I think the chairman of both boards should be part of strategic discussions. Not every project, but the significant ones that draw that level of scrutiny and that level of attention. I think it would be best if the commissions were involved. And that brings another thought to mind too: is should ex parte disclosures apply to those conversations as well? We always find ourselves being quizzed about whether or not, as a board member, you've had those conversations. But it seems that the staff has pretty meaningful conversations in advance, and it may come out in the reviews, it may not, that those discussions occurred. And I think there should be more transparency and more involvement. Would be my two thoughts. Thanks.
Very good, thank you. Okay, let's move on with our agenda, and
Chair LaFevers, we should
Sure.
just check to make sure we don't have anybody that wants to make a public comment by Zoom.
okay, thank you for that reminder. Do we have anybody on Zoom who's interested in making a comment on an item not on the agenda tonight?
It seems we do not have any public comments over Zoom right now.
Very good, thank you. Thanks for that reminder. Okay, let's keep moving. Next up is our consent calendar. We have the minutes from the June 3rd regular Planning Commission meeting. We were all present with the exception of Commissioner Salant. Is there discussion? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
Yes, some discussion
Okay,
there.
go ahead, Commissioner
On
Allen.
page 4, the first full paragraph, the third sentence, what's attributed to me, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I would like to change it to, he said there should be the ability to refer to objective standards to lower base density where conditions make it infeasible or environmentally inappropriate to develop all of the parcel. That's a proposed revision to the minutes based on, I hope, your recollection of what I was saying. I think it's said elsewhere. And then later in the same paragraph, the last sentence starts, he noted that we have always been reactionary in legislative matters. That sounds rather political, and I think reactive is a better word than reactionary.
Okay. Okay, so we've got two proposed changes. Nick, were you able to get both of those?
Chair LaFevers, I could not get it verbatim, but we can pull it off of the recording after the fact to correct the minutes.
Okay. Thank you. And Commissioner Benefield?
Okay, there's a, page 4, down the bottom, not the last paragraph, but the second to last. I just don't want this to remain in here for the duration of my life, where it says, she said she is befuddled. Me, yes, okay, you don't need to put it in the note, in the minutes, okay? Just change it to something fun, rich, beautiful, something. But could you take that out? Rich and beautiful.
Seems non-substantive, so sounds like
It is.
removal is appropriate.
I went, oh, do they have to know I'm befuddled? Thank you.
Anybody else? Commissioner Moyer? Okay, with that, I entertain a motion for approval with the suggested changes by Commissioner Benefield and Commissioner Allen.
I move to approve the minutes with the added comments.
Second.
Okay, it's a motion and a second. I'm going to call for a roll call vote since we have Commissioner Allen participating via Zoom. So get a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Moyer,
A.
Commissioner Benefield,
Yes.
Vice Chair Allen,
Yes?
and Chair LaFevers.
Yes.
And I assume Commissioner Slant will abstain since she was not present.
Very good. Motion passes. Thank you. All right. I think we're ready to move on to our public hearing, our new public hearing, which is the Runfelt Automotive Storage Project. And before I ask for staff report, I'll open it up for any disclosure of any ex parte communications by commissioners.
None.
No.
Commissioner Allen, any ex
No.
parte? Okay, very good. Okay, with that, I'll ask for a staff report.
Thank you, Chair LaFevers and Commissioners. I'm Brian Banks here, presenting to you this evening the Runfeld Personal Automobile Storage Conditional Use Permit. The project is a request for approval of a conditional use permit to allow personal storage of up to 19 collectible automobiles within an existing approximately 7,500 square foot tenant lease space. Lease space. This is out in our industrial research park area. The CUP request is required for this project because storage of automobiles is not a principally permitted use in the MRP zone district. However, it is one of the listed conditionally permitted uses pursuant to the municipal code. Therefore, we're here tonight for your review of the CUP and if those findings can be made. The project is a result of an enforcement investigation for unpermitted construction. And as such, there is an existing approximately 420 square foot interior storage room that would be validated should your commission approve the project tonight as part of this CUP and coastal development permit approval. The project itself, other than the use being reviewed, would require very minor interior tenant improvements to meet the building code and fire code requirements for the automobile storage, and would not require any exterior changes to parking area, landscaping, or so forth. The project location is here off of Cindy Lane, approximately the midpoint on the west side. You can see noted here with the red arrow, basically in the center of our industrial research park neighborhood. The tenant space itself is highlighted here. So this is the existing building. The tenant space is highlighted in yellow here. There are two adjoining tenant uses, one a research and development type use here to the southwest, and then to the east is an existing design business. Very similar in terms of the configuration of a open, kind of a large open, not real compact office spaces here. You can see here the existing parking space arrangement, number of parking spaces. The proposed project would not impact the existing parking areas. So this is the floor plan of the tenant space in question here. You can see the layout of the proposed layout of the automobiles that would be stored in the tenant space. Again, here, the existing adjacent leased space, and to the right here, the other adjoining leased space. The building itself has pedestrian entry, you can see here, and then roll-up doors to access the space itself. Here is an existing upper story mezzanine. This use below is associated with the adjoining tenant space. So this would be an walk up the stairs, and there's a little bit of a storage mezzanine up there. Interior partition wall here partly. Existing restroom facilities there that this space would have access to. And again, this is the interior storage room that would be validated should your commission approve the project tonight. So of note here is the approximate arrangement of the vehicles within the facility that have been reviewed by CDD staff, including our building staff and Carpinteria Summerlin Fire District staff. Here, just basic photos of the setting here. One photo from the street looking back onto the subject building, and then what I tried to note here in this green dotted outline is just the space itself. Again, adjoining tenant use to the left and an adjoining tenant use to the right. In terms of the zoning code requirements, as we know, the purpose and intent of the MRP zone district is to provide areas primarily for light industry, technical research, and large business office headquarters, and to provide opportunities for mixed residential and industrial uses. In the instant case, the conditional use permit standards or requirements are that personal storage of automobiles are not a principally permitted use within the MRP zone district. However, they are amongst the listed conditionally permitted uses, as in storage and warehousing within the municipal code. In order for your commission to allow a conditionally permitted use in this zone district, there are a number of required findings that would need to be made. I'll run through those very quickly. The site is, of the proposed use, is adequate in terms of its size and shape to accommodate the use. The site is served by streets and highways that are properly designed to carry the type of traffic generated by the use. The granting of the permit would not materially or adversely affect such necessary community services such as sewage, fire prevention, water supply, and police protection. Granting of the permit would not be detrimental to the health, safety, and general welfare of the neighborhood. That the proposed use is consistent with the general plan, coastal plan, and there are no specific plans applicable to this site. That the project would not cause substantial environmental damage. The project would not conflict with any recorded easements, of which there are none for this site. And any conditions that your commission should see are necessary would be included that are reasonably necessary to protect the public peace, health, safety, and general welfare. So again, not a principally permitted use, a conditionally permitted use, if these findings can be made. When staff was reviewing the general plan policies that relate to the project, we went through many of our general plan policies that we often see related to residential or commercial type development would not apply for this type of use consideration, basically because we don't have any construction as part of that. So we're not getting into things like public views and other aesthetic considerations. So we focused here in our staff report and in the presentation for you tonight to those key policies as it relates specifically to this storage project. And amongst them, the land use element, objective to preserve the small beach town character, and avoiding sprawl and development of the city's edges. Of course, this project is not proposing any kind of exterior development or change to the physical structure itself. Provide for a range of businesses activities that bring vitality, revenue, and employment that are compatible with the small town character. The proposed use would not generate a level of business activity and revenue and employment as compared to a principally permitted use such as a large office, headquarters, a research and development type of use. And as you'll see in the staff report, that was the main issue for your consideration this evening is would the long-term use of this tenant space in our research and development district be in the best interest of the city, considering that taking that lease space out of consideration for a future potential tenant that would more closely align with the intent and objectives of the MRP zone district. Is that something that the city would like to see? That said, as referenced in the staff report, the vacancy rates post-COVID with less demand for office space, considering the work from home hybrid type of work environment that many businesses are moving to, has resulted in higher vacancy rate in our MRP zone than probably we had seen before. Alternatively, there is great demand in our industrial M zone districts. Anecdotally, what we've heard is perhaps as low as 5% or less vacancy rate in our industrial zoned properties, and perhaps more than 20% vacancy rate in our MRP areas. So it may be likely that we'll see other businesses that would like to lease space in our MRP zone that would also seek conditionally permitted uses, just because there doesn't seem to be that same demand for office space that we used to see. So the balancing act here for your commission is, would it be better for this space to remain vacant in the hopes that a business or a use that is more better aligned with the principal uses conceived in the MRP zone district and the resulting economic vitality, employment, perhaps high-tech type businesses and the employees that come along with that, is that something that's better, or and do we conceivably see that there would be an increase in that demand given our current environment, post-COVID environment? So on balance, as reflected in the staff report and the findings, staff feels that the proposed project itself is compatible with the neighborhood and would not impact the adjoining tenants or other businesses in the area. And we can think about that balancing act with this project moving forward as compared to the potential vacancy should the commission not want to move forward with this project. And again, weighing those two interests when you're reviewing the project. In terms of adequate services, as I mentioned before, there would be minimal impact to the parking, transit, or public service is a very passive use. So if you didn't know, if you weren't paying attention to the hearing this evening, you would likely not even know that this project is happening. Besides the land use element and the key objectives there and the compliance with the intent and purpose of the MRP zone, the other prime consideration for this project was the safety element. And frankly, that was why it took us so long to be here today, because there was quite a bit of back and forth with our building staff and with the fire marshal because these kind of projects haven't recently been reviewed in the project specifically for automobile storage. So there was much back and forth with our project applicant and our building staff and fire marshal to come up with appropriate conditions to ensure the safety of this use moving forward. The building itself does have interior fire sprinklers, which was the main consideration. So thankfully, those are already in place. You'll see suggested conditions for your review, and these came specifically from the fire marshal, that if your commission should approve the project, we recommend the condition as specified in the fire district's letter that each vehicle have battery disconnect so that the batteries are not connected when stored, and that the fuel be limited within each vehicle as the fire marshal specified, 5 gallons maximum or half a tank, whichever is least. And that the building, which I believe does now, continue to maintain the 1 hour fire separation rating between the walls of the tenant spaces. The other consideration would be any potential noise. Again, a passive use, no residential development in the vicinity, and as conditioned or recommended conditions, all vehicles would be stored within the interior of the building only. So your options tonight would be to approve the project pursuant to the resolution and the findings specified within the staff report and accept the CEQA exemption. Alternatively, direct the applicant and staff to prepare revisions and return to your commission at a future meeting. Or the third option, to conceptually deny the project as proposed and direct staff to return with findings for denial at a future meeting. And that concludes my presentation. I'm available to answer any questions, and we do have the project designer and agent here if you have any questions for him.
Very good. Thank you very much for the staff report. I'll open it up to commissioners for questions at this time. Questions for staff?
Actually,
I do have a question.
I have a number of questions. Do you have questions, David? Am I the only one?
Go ahead, Commissioner Salon. Go ahead.
Okay, well, thank you for humoring me with my dinner here. My first question, which doesn't usually come up in the case of cars, but when you have a facility that's gonna park 19 cars, are there special ventilations requirements for vehicles? I mean, they're gonna be started, they're gonna be moved, presumably, the engine will be running as they go in and out, they're not gonna be rolled out. I don't know if the person plans on just having them, is he gonna bring them out for, like, old car day or something that we have in Carpinteria or what? But it would seem that for this many cars, you would have to have some unusual ventilation requirements.
Commissioner Salant, through the chair, that's a very good question, and that is among the items that we analyzed over the preceding month. So there are mechanical systems in place that would ventilate that space for a typical type of use, warehousing and storage type of use, but not specific to a vehicle type of use. So as the project is moving through the building permit review process, any additional mechanical ventilation requirements would be required. Would not, in our review with the building, with our building inspection staff and the fire marshal, it does not seem like there would be any massive, new air circulating units or anything like that required, because these would be vehicles that would be, as an individual car would pull in and pull out and park, not servicing the vehicles and that sort of thing. So in the opinion of our building staff and fire marshal, that we're not anticipating any large mechanical ventilation systems being needed. Just again, because these would be stored, not repaired, moved around that often, they kind of are just kind of static in their parked location.
Then in the same, talking about fire issues, I noticed that, excuse me, on page 3 of the items for consideration, part 4 environmental, they want, in addition to the interior fire sprinklers, they mention, as you mentioned in your presentation, about disconnecting the batteries and only having each one a quarter tank full, or 5 gallons, whichever is less. But then in additional things here on attachment A, exhibit 3, they also say for these cars, additionally, automobiles should not be fueled within the building. The storage of flammable materials such as gasoline, lubricants, or tires is expressly prohibited. Shouldn't this be included in this that we're going to be deciding on?
Commissioner Salant, through the chair. So that condition that you're reading from were staff's recommended condition language. Those conditions or requirements were not specifically required by the fire marshal in his condition letter, but we thought that it would be appropriate to make sure that we don't ever have a confusion about the limitations that the fire district's condition letter stated. So we included that additional language in that recommended condition.
So is that going into the requirements for this for the developer?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. Should your commission accept that condition, that recommended condition, so that would become part of the project, correct?
Okay.
And through the chair, just to clarify, right? So the fire marshal's language, the fire marshal's conditions that they've recommended placing on this project had to do with how much fuel can be in each of the individual cars. And we just wanted to kind of, close the loop on any potential workarounds where someone says, well, great, I won't store the fuel in the cars, I'll store it in, barrels over here in the corner of the storage room.
Jugs, yeah.
And so this was something that, we had conceived imposing as an additional city condition on this project to close the loop on that, kind of potential workaround.
I mean, I think it's very reasonable. Another question I had, which is about security for these. I mean, there are 19 automobiles, they're collector automobiles. That my sense is they're probably individually worth quite a lot of money. what sort of security provisions are included in this? I mean, it just seems like it's a magnet for somebody to try to break in.
Commissioner Slant, through the chair, the applicant hasn't proposed any special security considerations, and that would really be on them. I'm sure, these facilities are very secure in terms of the locked doors and how they're arranged with very limited access. But sure, I would imagine that if I'm the owner, I'm the applicant, I'm going to make sure that somebody's checking those locks every evening when leaving. But no specific additional security requirements were proposed or suggested as part of the project.
Yeah, and just to clarify, it's not to say that the applicant couldn't impose, or install a security system. It's just that the city isn't in a position to require it of them.
Correct.
How long was this property vacant?
Commissioner, I don't know. Maybe our director would have an idea. It's hard to track these kind of vacancies when tenants move out. We would, issue a business license and review it on the zoning side when a new business comes in, but we typically would not know when a business goes out.
So this, if I understood correctly, this is in an area where the vacancy is quite low. Is that right?
Quite high, actually,
Oh,
in
I'm
our
sorry.
research
Which-
industrial park. So to clarify, it seems that we've received, at least in my time here, and the director, Nick, can expand upon this, but it seems post-COVID, there's been less demand in our research industrial area, large office type uses, the Procores and the LinkedIns and those type of businesses, because they've moved to this kind of, work from home hybrid kind of model, whereas our industrial zone, our M zone, is nearly always occupied and in relatively high demand. And so what we're seeing are inquiries, more inquiries coming in for businesses that would probably traditionally be more appropriate in our industrial zone.
And
they're
where-
looking to our MRP research zone because there's vacancy. And this is among the type
Okay.
of uses that we're seeing.
And for my edification, where is the industrial zone?
In our Cindy, Rose, Bega area. Oh, I'm sorry. Our M zone is down in our basically in our beach neighborhood, 6th, Walnut, Palm, Island Brew, the 500 Maple
okay. All right.
warehouse
That's industrial?
buildings.
Okay.
That's
All
our
right.
industrial zone. Yes.
Only the beach town.
And,
All
and
right.
we don't have a lot of it. And what we're hearing is other jurisdictions, like the city of Santa Barbara, that was kind of the funk zone. That's changing, gentrifying and changing to more mixed use and other types of retail and restaurant kind of uses. Same thing somewhat in the Goleta area. So in our South Coast region, unless you go to Ventura, we don't have a lot of industrial zoning, or at least a lot of vacancy in our industrial zone areas.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
Sure.
Very good, thank you. Commissioner Benefield.
I just want to make sure I understand that this is one person with 19 cars, not 19 people with one car. So it's one owner, and he will or she will be moving it in and out, them in and out? Probably
Commissioner-
one at a time. I don't.
Commissioner Benefield, through the chair. So our understanding and our applicant can clarify if I'm wrong, is that indeed it is one owner of these vehicles, and there's contemplated to be an employee who would be responsible for the maintenance of them, and and I think the general idea is the owner wants to come drive his whichever collectible automobile that day, and would come on down and take the vehicle out, enjoy the weather, what have you, and return it to its spot within the building, and that's it.
Thank you.
Do we know if the owner is local? Does the owner live in Carpinteria?
I don't believe the owner lives in Carpinteria.
Other questions from commissioners? Commissioner Allen, did you have questions?
Yes. One question has been answered. We have a single tenancy here, and I just wondered what staff's perception was in balancing, in the balancing exercise we're being asked to look at, in terms of consistency with the primary uses, seems to me that it may matter somewhat in the balancing exercise that this is a tenancy. It's not the owner asking for a use. I guess that would only be true in the sense that it's more likely that tenancies turn over and in general faster than ownership, and so you may see a new tenant with the use being one of the principal uses sooner than if it was the owner. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, Commissioner Allen, through the chair, it's you're exactly honing in on what Nick and I kind of were thinking about when we were trying to, have the discussion, that balancing act, and even the conditioning. Tenants do come and go, owners not so often. However, you have a multi-tenant building, right? So you have 3 different tenants with potentially 3 different lease periods. So that kind of could complicate the matter as well. But I'm sure there's outs that are written into these leases in ways that can change should a new owner come in and want to propose some other type of use. Your commission would review any other types of conditionally permitted uses or uses that are not specifically principally permitted in this building or any others in the neighborhood. So you'd get a peek at what was going on with this building if anything changed.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, let's move on then. I'll open the public hearing and ask if the applicant or applicant's representative would like to address the commission on the application.
Make sure you push the green button.
Okay, sounds good. Yep.
Hi, I'm Ray Ames, the applicant for the project. Unless you have any questions, I'd like just to say that it's a single owner. The gentleman has in the range of taking care of cars, he's got probably on the best side of that range. He pulls the cars out, he sends them to the mechanic to get repaired. He doesn't do any repairs there. He has a young man that basically maintains them, exercises them, brings them back, parks them, closes the doors, and it's pretty simple. It's a pretty simple operation. So I just wanted to clarify that it wasn't going to be something like, doing maintenance or filling the gas tank or anything like that. It's a pretty nice line of cars, and I think maybe you may have seen some photos in the drawings that I presented to staff. And anyway, it's pretty straightforward, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. But other than that, that's all I have to say.
Very good, thank you. Are there questions for the applicant?
Well, what,
I have a question.
Sure.
Could you tell us anything about the cars themselves? What kind of cars they are?
There's a wide range. You have Corvettes, you have Porsches, not a whole bunch of old ones, but a nice set of pretty sporty cars. They're pretty nice. I don't have them memorized, but what I've seen, I've certainly liked.
And I believe for your commission's consideration, within the plans that are attached to the staff report, there's some photos of the existing. I don't think it captures all of the vehicles, but just to show the interior layout, I believe you'll see in the photo page on those plans the vehicles.
maybe I don't know what a car looks like, but
These are tiny little black and white photographs from my printer, not very revealing.
Hold on, I might have.
News and birds know nothing fun.
Hold on. Oh, there you go.
There they go. Oh,
Okay,
So this is the photo from the plan, so you can actually see it.
not a Corvette.
Is this where he keeps them now? Where is this?
This is the facility, correct? And you'll see here, this is the storage room that you saw on the floor plan.
So the cars are already there?
Are the cars already there?
Correct. Commissioners, through the chair, as a reminder, this was the result of an enforcement investigation for
Oh,
unpermitted
okay.
construction. So they had been there previously, and I think, it came to the city's attention when we noticed construction happening within the interior, and the result of which is what we're doing today.
Okay.
All right.
Additional questions for the applicant? No? David? No?
Oh, I'm sorry, I left my hand raised.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
If we have more questions, we'll call you back up. Okay, public hearing still open? Anybody else? Nope. On Zoom, do we have anybody on Zoom to speak at the public hearing?
Thank you, Commissioner. We have no speakers on Zoom.
All right. Brings us back. I'll close the public hearing, bring the item back to the commission for discussion, deliberations, any additional questions? Who would like to start? Commissioner Moyer?
Well, about the only issue there is to consider is whether or not we want to see this property leased in this way rather than sit empty and wait for a use that would be more beneficial to the city. Is that correct?
Yeah.
That's one of the key items that is
Yeah.
before us, correct?
Yeah, it's kind of messy because it's already done, but I can make the findings, and I would be willing to approve this. So that's
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Moyer. Other commissioners? Commissioner Benefield?
Just a cautionary tale, don't use up your M zones, don't convert them, but I think conditional use is a worthy approach. So, this is fine. I think you should have a place for your cars, I guess. And doesn't hurt anybody and helps somebody. So I think it follows the land use well enough. But don't use up all the M zone on frivolous things, because that's happened in a few cities. Anyway, thank you. Oh, and I would approve it.
Thank you. Commissioner Salant?
I think Commissioner Benefield succinctly stated the case, and I agree with her. And I think it also shows that in these uncertain times that sometimes we have to be a little creative in how we find tenants and how we move forward in our city. So it's a bit unusual, but it seems like it's not at this time preventing any industrial, I'm sorry, it's not industrial, whatever it was intended for, it's not stopping it. And I note on the plans and the elevations, there are no windows in this thing, so it was going to be used for storage anyway. So I approve.
Good, thank you. Vice Chair Allen?
Maybe,
You're up, David, if you have a comment.
Did I hear my name?
Sorry, I must have had my mic off. I think it's on now.
Okay.
Vice Chair
I
Allen,
hear you
please.
now. I thought I vaguely heard you. Yes, I am in favor of approving this conditional use. It is something that is within our discretion to approve with a CUP. I would not like to see an owner deprived of the use of a tenancy, or rather the income from a tenant in an area where there is, particularly as there's relatively low occupancy. And this does fit. It does not impose any detrimental effects on the city, again, other than that potential use consistent with the principal uses. So I'm certainly willing to support a motion to approve. And I will put my hand down.
Thank you, David. Okay, we've heard from the commissioners, and I would support the project as well. I agree with comments from other commissioners. I think it's certainly appropriate use in that area, and I don't have an issue with any of the findings for the CUP. So with that, I think we're all in favor. I'll entertain a motion for approval.
Anybody?
Go ahead.
Let's see. I haven't done this in so long. I move that we approve this conditional use permit and coastal development permit to allow storage of 19 collectible automobiles in the location indicated with the conditions in the staff report.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. And I will again call for a roll call vote, please.
Hello.
I'm sorry, I wasn't thinking that was me. Commissioner Slant,
I approve.
Commissioner Benefield,
Yes.
Commissioner Moyer,
Yes.
Vice Chair Allen,
Yes.
and Chair LaFevers.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Very good. Thank you. Your project is approved. Thank you very much. All right, give us a moment here just to shift gears. We're on to our other business category. Do we have, is there other business for us tonight?
Chair LaFevers, I just wanted to maybe take a quick moment to remind your commission that we are working on trying to find a meeting date for late July, looking at either July 30th or 31st, to hold a joint training between the City Council, Planning Commission, and ARB. And the purpose of this joint training meeting would be sort of a kickoff to go over the roles and responsibilities of these respective boards in the development review process. And we thought that might be a good way to start this exercise, is to get all three boards together and talk about, how these different groups work together through the development review process and reviewing a project from start to finish, so that everyone has a good understanding of how it all fits together. And then the intention is from there, we would be able to follow up with independent trainings for those different boards or bodies as needed, right? So I know Commissioner Slent has expressed some interest in receiving trainings on, the roles and responsibilities and laws that, govern Planning Commission actions. And so this is kind of the kickoff to that, is kind of this, starting with this high-level overview of how the entire development review process fits together. So we're working on finding and nailing down a date for that. Right now, it's looking like it'll either be July 30th or 31st. But I will follow back with all of you once we get confirmation that that date works for the ARB, or one of those dates works for the ARB.
Very good. Thank you. Good idea. I think it'll be
A
worthwhile.
question or a note for Nick?
Commissioner Allen?
Yes. I doubt that I will be able to come down for that, and so hopefully that would be another meeting at that level that I could attend by Zoom.
Through the chair, Vice Chair Allen, yes, I think we have that in our notes already, that if you were to attend, it would likely be virtual, and we would make accommodations for that.
Thank you. Yeah, just a note, that I am planning to come down for the July Harbor Seal Advisory Committee. That can fit in my schedule for a quick flying trip. I wouldn't want the Planning Commission to feel slighted, but that works out and
Yeah.
others don't.
We won't judge your priorities.
Okay.
Promise. Okay, moving on. Do we have matters presented by commissioners? Commissioner Allen, anything for us tonight?
No, I do not.
Okay.
I don't want us to forget that we're reviewing the dog park issue 6 months after it opened. I heard there were some issues. I don't know. Also, whenever I go there, there's no dogs there. There's no parking problem because there's no one there. But maybe it's when I go. So I don't want us to forget that we're going to review that, make it permanent, I think, or not.
Commissioner Benefield, your timing is excellent. We have that on our radars, and we're talking about where that would land as well. The dog park opened in April, and so we want to give it the full 6 months of operation before we come back to do the check-in. So we're thinking, right, the 6-month anniversary lands in October sometime, so we would come to you in November for the 6-month check-in and report on how the pilot program is going.
Great, and I hope it works.
Just
Not the meeting, the dog park.
through the chair. I cruised by it a couple of times just to check it out, and both times there was a lot of dogs there. They were all having a great time. I was kind of critical about it because for a lot of Carpinterians, they have to drive there, and then the parking's really tight. But it didn't seem to be an issue, and so yeah, I was pleasantly surprised.
Good to hear. Okay, let's move on to,
Through the chair,
sure, go ahead, David.
I'll simply add to Commissioner Moyer's statement that I've been by twice and both times saw several dogs. Well, by several, I mean 3 to 6, I'd say.
Very good. Let's go to the director's report next.
Thank you, Chair. So in your director's report this evening, you have the minutes from the May 16th Architecture Review Board meeting. We had, what did we have on that? We had a final review of a new home in the beach neighborhood. We had a continued preliminary review of a new home in the Concha Loma neighborhood. We had a mural proposed for the 7th Street elevation of the 700 Linden building development. And we did the conceptual review of an addition to the warehouse down there on 6th Street. Beyond that, in your director's report, you also have the city calendar for the month of July. Note will be closed here at City Hall this Thursday for July 4th. And then you have the planning activity report for the month of June and the building permit summary report also for the month of June.
Where's this warehouse on 6th?
This is the large warehouse there that's bounded by Palm, 6th, and Walnut. It's where Reality Church used to be.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Thank you.
And that
All right.
concludes my director's report, unless you have any questions.
Very good. Thanks, Nick.
Yes.
Commissioner Allen.
I'm sorry, I was distracted and didn't hear what you just said. So I guess my question is, do you have anything keyed up on tap for the August 5th meeting, which I will be able to attend by Zoom?
Through the chair, Vice Chair Allen, I apologize. I don't recall if we have anything parked yet for August. I'll have to go back and check my notes and circle back with you.
That brings us to the question of whether commissioners will be available to attend August 5th, should there be a meeting. Commissioner Allen has indicated he would be attending by Zoom if there's a meeting. Others?
I'll be here, it's hard to get rid of me.
Okay,
I'll be here.
okay. And I would expect to be here as well.
Great, thank you.
All right, that concludes our agenda, and with that, we're adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you, Glenn.